Hi everyone, it's Marietta. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I have a special guest here with me, Marian Esanu. And Marian is client acquisition expert, keynote speaker, author, and podcast host. And guess what? He is immigrant. So, Marian, remind me again, you are from Romania, right?
Correct, yes.
So thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad to have you because you're someone that I feel like my audience would definitely benefit from. Not only you are helping and supporting other entrepreneurs, but you are a proof, you are example, living proof of someone who has a dream and then you actually go and get it and make it happen. So thank you so much for being here, Marianne.
Sure, appreciate the chance to be on the show and to be able to share the story with your audience. So we'll give it all away.
Yeah. So let's get started. Tell us, like, how did it all started? I know it's been like 6 or 7 years for you, and I want to go way back. Let's go back to where you were still living in Romania, thinking about United States, having this American dream. And so how did it all started? Why United States?
Good question. So it actually goes back more than six years ago because my first contact with U.S. soil was in 2010 through a J1 program. So a very good one of my childhood best friends was, I think he left in 29 with a J1 program. And we were talking like almost every week. He was sending me like photos and we were doing like FaceTime. Well, I don't think it was Facebook at the time yet, or it wasn't. No, I think it was. And he was just telling me how cool he was in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So he was telling me how cool his job was. He was working as a manager in a restaurant and all kinds of cool stuff happening. And, since I was a little kid, watching movies, all of them, most of them actually being filmed in US. I always wanted to come and visit, I guess, but he never crossed my mind the whole traveling aspect of it. So when my best friend started to share, day-to-day stuff from his life from Chicago, I'm like, oh crap! Like now, you changed my whole perspective. I want to come too. So he was, sharing with me that he was working pretty hard, 7 days a week and all that stuff. But I wasn't afraid. I was like, no, I'm working all day long too. Might as well just be there. So long story short, I like the university that I was enrolled. It wasn't a full-time one. So I'm pretty sure for the audience that's listening, especially people from different countries. My university was only Saturday and Sunday at the time. So because of that.
Just to clarify for people, so you came here on J1 visa and then you changed the status to student visa, no?
No, I left. I left, and then I came back in 2012 with an H2B visa, the non-skilled working visa.
H2B, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So first it was J1. So long story short, I had to re-enroll to a different school to be able to apply for J1. I came here for almost 4 months. Then I went back to Romania. Next year I got my visa rejected for whatever reason. And I'm like, I still want to come back. I want to do something about it. So then I came with H2B visa.
And after you graduated, your school back home?
After that, yeah. So that was for 9 months. What happened during those 9 months, my wife tried to come too. She was rejected 2 times. Mm-hmm. And then I went back after 9 months. And the employer here made me a letter, and I was able to get my wife with me too the next year in 2013, same visa, H2B. So at that time, I'm like, my wife started to like accommodate and get familiar with the culture. I think the reason that I really liked it was I felt so much in my own world because I could work, and at the time, like especially for all of us immigrants, having a job doesn't feel as bad as the whole economy is now thinking like, oh, don't get a job and just try to get your own business. At that time, I didn't even have that mindset. I was just, no, if I can work 7 days a week, I just need to save some money and period.
Yeah,
right?
but
Like at that time, that was.
I have to emphasize this because H-2B visa is also not that easy to obtain, right? It's just you mentioned you got the H-2B visa for 9 months. So you were working where exactly did you work?
In Boston. In Boston.
But what did you do? What kind of work?
No, it was no. So H2B is a non-skilled. So it was a moving and storage company. So it wasn't. I didn't need any. Yeah, I didn't need like. I didn't need my college degree or anything like that for that job.
Like for people who understand the specifics and requirements, it's not that easy to even obtain H-2B, especially these days, right? Because back then it was different, slightly different time. And there's still like quotas, how many visas are issued, H-2B visas. So, I'm just saying like, you got the visa. So of course, like you were just working, making money and you were happy, right? Because you didn't really think too much. But there are people who don't even have that choice, right? Because they can get the H-2B visa and they would love to, but still. Anyway, so continue. What happened after?
Yeah, it's funny. Just a side note, literally last year, I had 10 employees on H2B. So now I'm on the other side of the boat.
Oh my God, I love that. Really?
Yeah, we'll get to that later. So then I started to, of course, think of ways of being able to extend or change my status here in US. Because I saw an opportunity and I'm like, all right, let's see if something like that is possible. How would that look like? So I was talking to the employer at the time. I told him what are my plans, and he said, "Cool, I'll sponsor you if needed. Let me know." Like he wasn't aware of the whole immigration game. At the time, he told me that if I want to get sponsorship, like for a green card, that's possible down the road, but it never ended up being that. So I changed my status into B1, B2 for 6 months-ish, 5 months, something like that. The problem that happened was the company was approved again for H2B, but we still haven't got our B2 approval yet. So it was kind of a conflict in terms of like, all right, like what's going to happen now? Like we don't yet, like even the 6 months were expired already, but because we are in pending status, we weren't like illegal.
Right.
So then,
but you just couldn't leave the country.
Correct. Yes. So their lawyer applied for H2B, regardless of us not getting the approval yet. Anyway, like a few days later, we got the approval, was all good, ready to go. We got that status accepted until November 30th. A month before that, we were like, all right, now what? Like, what's going to happen now? So long story short, we applied for another extension. We got another H2B, so it was like 2 years in now. The moment that I got my second one, I started to realize that, like, okay, so what am I able to do now with my whole, like, what's my game now? What's my dream? So I because I was in this industry of transportation, moving and storage, I'm like, I could do this. I had some money saved. Might as well, I could start a business on the side. So my first touch with the whole entrepreneurial game, I literally just went to the city hall. I applied for a license. I got my license. And from that point on, I'm like, oh, crap, now I'm a business owner. What now?
That's why you cannot even work for yourself because you don't have a valid visa for that matter.
No, I was already on H2B.
You were on H2B.
In May 20, well, it's hard now to go back. Let me think. This is 2014 now.
Okay, but what I'm saying is like H2B, you cannot manage your own business. You can only work for employer. That's the point.
Yeah, correct. Now, what happened was I applied for the license, and it took me a little bit to understand that.
Because people here who are watching, they understand the requirement. So I don't want to like mislead anybody. Like, oh, they get to be and they work for themselves. Like,
no, that's true. That's true. So then, but what happened was, so I got my license, but then I understood that, oh, that's actually not possible.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. Very important.
Yeah. So what I had to do is I had to take on a partner that he was able to do what I was planning to do. So this guy was already a resident. Long story short, he, like, the whole company side went on him. My whole background back home was on marketing. So I was, I kind of had this unfair advantage, I guess. So this friend of mine took the whole thing on his side, and I was literally going to work, coming back from work 6, 7 p.m., and then start going online and start building the website and running ads and all kinds of things. And what happened was the business started to get some traction. The whole thing started to really catch up. Like, people were calling, and I was literally going at a job, and I was taking sales calls on in the back of the car, so nobody can hear me. It started to get like really, really difficult. So long story short.
And then that point, you probably realize, like, Jesus, I gotta do something with my status. This is not serving me.
Exactly. So at that time, like, literally, I was working on 15-hour at a 15 per hour job, $15 per hour job, and my company was basically generating way more than at the time. I think it was 15, 20K a month. And I'm like, God, like, but I wasn't able to get in because of my status. Like, I wasn't able to get theirs. And my partner started to ask me, like, dude, like, what are you going to do? Like, you have to do something about it, because I'm not able to just have this by my own.
And that's, I have to mention this for people so they understand why E2 visa, investor visa path is blessing. Because that's the path you can do if you want to actually start your own business. And like Marian, like they don't even need freaking like be in the United States. They can even make it from their own home country. And these days we have internet, we can do all kinds of things. So anyway, please carry on.
Yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned that. I wish I would have known that at the time. I would have probably, well, anyway, nonetheless, I'm happy with the way that everything ended. So, so then everything was going on for a couple of months. And what happened was we decided to do another change of status, as you can probably imagine. So we understood that there's no way for us to get another B2. So what we did is we applied, my wife applied for F1. What happened during all these years, I was registering for the DV lottery, like every year. So this was my seventh time. What happened was, a month before we got the letter that said that we are rejected, we are denied for the F1, I was selected for the DV lottery.
Wait. Let's slow down. Why were you selected for F1? Doesn't make sense to me.
No. We applied for F1 change of status.
Why were you rejected for F1?
That's the next.
That's to me. Why it's just F1?
Yeah, so here's why. So we did the whole thing pretty good. Like, my wife had her aunt as a sponsor. We had, like, the whole file was pretty good. What happened was, when I was selected for the DV lottery, I was given the option to apply for the change of status here in the States, or to go and apply in Bucharest, where I'm, in Romania. Because the F1 was still on roll, I was advised not to leave the country and just go with the application here in the States. My mistake was, I forwarded the application for the DV lottery before I got my approval for F1. So it was a deadline in between that I was afraid to not lose it, because, as you know, the DV lottery only extends to September the next year, like, the year that's on roll. And as you can probably imagine, the DV lottery application and the F1 application, I don't know if they landed on the same desk or not, but the F1 response was, I'm sorry, your application for DV lottery is for immigrant purposes. Your F1 application is for non-immigrant purposes. Therefore, we deny them both. And we got a letter saying, get out of here.
Because you're simultaneously applying for two different statuses. So obviously there is a conflict. You can apply for one status if you already have a valid status. Let's suppose, because people might be confused here. Let's suppose you are in the United States, you have a student visa status, and you are studying here, and you are here legally, and then you apply for this green card lottery, and you are selected. Yes, you can change the status, you can adjust the status. That's all good. But if simultaneously applying to 2 or 3 different statuses, you can do that, right? So just so
so the problem, that was my mistake, and the problem was that the people, and now it makes a lot of sense, because I was saying on F1 that I'm gonna return back to the.
And then you have different intention. You have dual.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a dual.
You fixed that. You did fix that. I know that for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole problem was we already had our fingerprints done. We had like our pictures done. It was just like we even got the letter for the interview. Like, it's weird. It's so weird to me. We had the interview for the DV lottery here in Boston scheduled for, I think it was March 12th or March 27th, something like that. So I don't know how, like, these are two different systems that they kind of fight with each other instead of working together. Anyway, I got a letter saying you have to leave the country from this point on. If you stay more than, I don't know, I think it was 14 days or something like that, or 30 days. I don't know exactly. You're gonna start accruing illegal, not illegal, but out of status. Whatever it's called, illegal status or something like that.
Out of status, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be you are out of status, and you're gonna start
illegal. It's to stay here illegally, yeah.
Yeah. So literally in 20 hours, we packed everything up, and we bought a ticket, and we left. Now the challenge was. So I think the ladies at Kentucky that deals with DV lottery, they literally knew me. Like if I would have knocked at their door, they would have known me. Like, I guarantee, like I was calling that office literally every single day to move my case from Boston to Bucharest, because, so picture this, we receive in the mail the work authorization cards, both me and my wife. Here in Boston, my partner calls me and says, "Look, dude, you received your cards. You want to come back?" I'm like, "Dude, that's not possible. Like, you can't." And he shows me the cards, the work authorization cards, and I'm like, "This is unreal. Like, I have to." I got so stressed.
Yeah.
So I called the office, the Kentucky.
But that's also weird that you received those cards.
I
like,
know.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It looks like different center is sending out the cards, work authorization, another center is actually approving. It's very weird. Yeah.
It is, but anyway, so I call DV lottery literally every single day, and the lady, like, literally was the same person, Donna. Like, I literally remember her name. It was Donna. Every time when I called that office, she was responding back and said, after like
Donna, we are sending her positive energy.
Donna was like, is this Marian? Like, literally, I don't know how many people are calling that office, but at that time, and I'm not kidding. And anyway, so I was stressed. I was super stressed for like 3 months until I got the letter in the mail in Romania saying your case was moved to Bucharest. Your interview is in July 2nd. From that point on, I'm like, okay, now I'm good. Because that was the problem, because I was going behind all the people that submitted all the paperwork for Bucharest.
Yeah.
From like people that were living in Romania, right? Like, I had to go behind.
Processing is called, yeah. And you were doing, yeah, gotcha. You were from adjustment of status inside of the United States to consular processing, so that's why it was different center, and they were shifting the application. So just so people understand.
Yeah. And I had a pretty good case number. It was 17,452. Like, literally, I remember it. So then the interview comes. And as you can probably imagine, the consular officers, I mean, they're not the friendliest person when they know that you extend your status for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't do anything illegal. But oh boy, that was a hell of an interview. Like they started to, of course, question the change of statuses and things like that. And after all, I was like, I literally, these were my last words. I said, look, ma'am, you can look on the paperwork. We haven't spent a day being out of status in the United States. I haven't done anything illegal. I left 3 years behind and I packed everything up in literally 20 hours. Trust me, I'm not trying to do anything fishy here. I'm just trying to be a good resident, and trust me, you won't feel sorry for us doing anything bad. And she looked at me and she said, "Okay, I guess that's correct." And she did look through the papers. The biggest problem now that I remember, the biggest problem was one of my change of statuses were, so I got one of my H-2B visas ending in November 30th and getting a letter with the change of status into B2 with a 3-day pause in between and saying that your new status begins on December 3rd. Mm-hmm. And it was a 3-day pause. And she really pointed that out. Mm-hmm. My luck was that at the time I called USCIS here in Vermont, and I told them, I need a letter saying that letter I need a letter I need a letter saying that your confirmation for my date is wrong because my change of status should start on December 1st. Mm-hmm. And fortunately I got down. So when she pointed out to that and she asked me like, what's that? I'm like, no, I have that confirmation. Like, look. And she was like, oh, okay. All right. So you're good. And that was it. After that,
and then after that, life was good.
Yeah, life was good after that. I think we flew back on August 2nd, and finally I was able to run my first business at the time.
And this was a year ago or something like that. 2 years ago?
No, this was 20. What I'm talking about is 2016 specifically.
3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And since then, you obviously, since you are free to do whatever you want to do with your business now, since then you obviously went from, I don't know, the business you were doing with your business partner to this other company, or is it, I'm assuming it's the same business that you have.
No, it's completely different. That was a brand new, so that business is still up and running even now. Mm-hmm. It's mostly run by my partner. I still take care of the marketing side of it and accounting and like things like that. But a lot of people ask me questions like, "Hey, dude, like you were not even here for like 9 months. I was out of the country, like and the business grew like it doubled actually during that time." And a lot of people just started to ask me questions like, dude, like how you were not even here, how your business grew. And that was just because we had processes in place. And I was telling this guy, my friend, look, man, we need to implement this and that. And we put together a bunch of things that were able to be followed by employees and things like that. And, the company has now like 24, 25 employees. So it was, that was the main reason why it survived. And because of that, like just people started to ask me questions. So at first I started to work with other local businesses, right, saying like, hey, how were you able to, like, now the business is generating close to 3 million a year. And people were not curious about my immigration status. People were curious about my business processes and marketing. Like, how are you able to grow that? So because of that, I started to work with other people. Yes. Slowly, I transitioned into the whole online game with working with influencers and coaches and things like that. So that's my main focus now.
Perfect. So now, what are your goals like? And like, if you look back, I mean, obviously everybody can tell that you are, I would say, someone who's got incredible persistence, someone who has the traits to become super ultra wealthy, in my opinion, because that's the skill you need to have. You need to have the persistence and perseverance. And many people think that United States, immediately you move here, you're immediately gonna make money, immediately you're gonna live your American dream. On the other hand, what I say is you're gonna live your American dream if you actually deserve it, if you actually have the persistence, if you have the courage, and if you have the perseverance. And you obviously have those traits. So now, and you prove it, like as someone who has these challenges, these visa challenges, and you just don't freaking give up, that is going to help you to succeed in your business because you are using, I believe, the same personality traits that you need to use if you want to make it happen. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, at one point, of course, it crossed my mind, like, what would have happened if I wasn't able to come back? Because if I was, going back, if I would have failed that interview, most likely that would have caused me some pretty bad like memories, because I didn't it was a pretty good shot that I took, right? And I knew that I was right, and I knew that I didn't do anything bad. I didn't do anything like illegal. It was just my way of trying to push forward and getting things done. I guess my thought for to answer your question, because it's kind of like a double question here. Yeah, number one, what are my goals? I'm really passionate about real estate now. I'm getting more into that. We started to get into investing. We actually did a couple of months ago, and we started to get our feet into that. Main purpose is now growing, of course, my own personal brand and helping others do that from a business standpoint, right? And then my advice, I guess, for people facing challenges, at the end of the day, we all face one or another, right? Like and I have clients, I have clients, not necessarily because I don't work with people, I work with people in different industries from different countries, and a lot of people think that their story is unique in a way, but the challenges, I guess, we all face them at different levels. At the end of the day, it all comes down to, are you ready to make it happen, to just do whatever it takes, or just try to put the blame on the system, or try to put the blame on or a new law that's coming up, or trying to blame the president, or trying to blame whatever, like whoever you want to blame, or just try to get things done, and then, getting done properly. Like sometimes you need mentors. Sometimes you need, not sometimes, I guess, all the time. Every time, all the time. Yeah. You need somebody to at least guide you in the right, and especially somebody that either has done something that you want to do. That's number one. Instead of me going to college, I would rather just pay somebody that has done the type of business that I want to do and just learn from that person, right? And it's the same scenario in here, regardless if you are an immigrant or not. And from people that are in the audience, most likely are either people that are trying to come to US, or maybe they are in US and dealing with all kinds of immigration things. At the end of the day, we all face or faced some sort of challenges, right? And it all comes down to, how bad do you want it? Like, do you actually want it? If you want it, you're going to find a way to get it done. If you don't want it as bad, you're just going to find an excuse and put the blame on somebody else. And that's it.
So what if, these people who are watching us, and they have this dream, they're aspiring entrepreneurs, they want to move to the United States, but for whatever reason, they have, typically people I'm working with, or I'm about to work with, or I interview or have a consultations with, they either, first of all, they are afraid, what if this is not going to work for me? Number two, if they don't have the required skills, what would you recommend? And, number three, not everyone is brave and bold. Let's be honest. And not everyone is like, yeah, I'm going for it no matter what. I'm taking this huge risk. You know what I mean? But they still want to live the American dream. So what would you say to these people?
So I'm going to answer them in the order that you asked me. Right. The question is not, what if it's not going to work? What if it's going to work? What then? Like, are you ready to actually... Like, I've had friends that, like, literally last year, I've hired, unfortunately, a person that was a good friend of mine, into the company. And after 2 weeks, he called me and said, I'm gonna have to leave because I can't take this job. I'm like, dude, what did you think is gonna happen? You think somebody's gonna wait in the airport with a suitcase and a desk and a suit and tie and just for you, like
flowers?
yeah, like you think somebody's gonna you have to just like, depends, right? Like, what if it's gonna work? What if it's going to happen? Are you ready to embrace that? Because some people are not ready for that, right? Now, I guess at the end of the day is, again, I don't think people should think negatively about this. Everybody should put the positive thing in it. What if it's gonna work? What then? What if it's gonna work, right? So that's number one. Number two, you said, what if people don't have the skills? Well, skills are always learnable. Like, I wasn't born with marketing skills. I just learned them throughout the way. I was coming back from literally working at a physical job until 10 p.m. And from 10 p.m. to midnight, I was studying in a course. That was a skill that I learned. I mean, I had an idea about marketing, but I didn't. I mean, marketing in Romania, the marketing that I learned in Romania had nothing to do with the marketing in US, period. I was taught to buy spots in a magazine. My company would have gone out of business in the first 3 weeks. I would have focused my money on that, right? So skills are learnable. That's no way you can get the skills from a course, even without being here. Like, you can get those skills before getting here. And if people are, what was the third one? If people are not
so brave and bold and risk takers.
You just have to find your why, period. My why.
That's a good one. Find your why. Why you want to do this.
Yeah, like and that can change over time. Like, at first, like, to be honest, this may sound funny, but the first time I just want to prove to myself that I can just come here and try at least a shot to my American dream. Second, I want to prove my dad's wrong, because he was always like, I love my dad to death, but he was always like, no, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able. And I always told him, I'm going to show it to you so bad. Yeah. And then number three was just, okay, my main why now is to offer a lifestyle to my family, both my wife and be able to support my parents. So you just have to find your why. For somebody, maybe their kids. For somebody, maybe their parents. For somebody, maybe their spouse.
Yes.
For somebody, just maybe themselves and their ego to prove to their friends that they're able to do something that they haven't done.
It's not the ego. I would like to think it's not the ego. Then they need to feed in this case.
Yeah, that's true. Because if it's just your ego, you're probably gonna give up sooner than later. But I would say the moment you find your why, you just don't look back at all.
Yeah, stick with your why. I like that a lot. So definitely, I just want to sum up. If you basically don't have the courage, just think about your why and focus on your why, because that why is going to stick with you, and you're going to stick with your why. And even though you feel like, oh my God, I cannot take this, oh my God, it's too hard, as long as you focus on the why, then you're going to keep going. Number two, if you don't know how, it's okay. Nobody knows. And like when I started, I had no experience, no skill as an entrepreneur. I was a lawyer, and I had no idea what's the difference between sales and marketing, and I had no idea what is marketing. So even if you don't know, you can still learn. And especially these days, ignorance is a choice, because you can just really learn anything you want these days. And the number one thing, what was the number one thing? Oh my God, I forgot. Anyway.
Well, the why was the main thing.
The second one was if it doesn't work, it's okay. And the first one, I forgot. Anyway.
So it was the skills. Oh, what if it doesn't work? But what if it does work?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. And then this one is important because, taking a risk, people think like it's a risk to actually do this, but I think the risk is actually staying where you are, not moving from that country. If your dream is to move here, if your dream is to start a business, staying where you are, that is the risk.
And let me say.
Mm-hmm, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting, but let me say this: moving to another country, specifically, like if you're coming from a third world country and you're planning to all of a sudden make this huge step, yes, it's a challenge, but you just have to understand that you have to get used to the culture, not with the culture, not the culture having to get used to you. So that's another thing that a lot of people, I guess, miss out at first, but at least just thinking, putting that in perspective and think about it. If somebody else is moving from another country to live next to you or next to your door, things like that, how would you approach that person? For like, how would you look at that person, right? So at first, of course, you are a foreigner, but that doesn't have to scare you, because the mentality, especially here in US and Canada too, is just different. Like I strongly believe that you can come here from anywhere in the world with zero English at first, and you can learn everything from scratch and you can make things done.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, this has been super, super, super inspiring. And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
So number one is I'm sharing a bunch of my stories and also business content on my YouTube channel. So it's simple, my name. If you go on YouTube and search, and we'll probably put them in the description too. It's just my name, Marian V Esanu, Marian V Esanu, Marian V Esanu. YouTube is my main hub, I guess. And then of course, all my interviews with a bunch of, I don't really talk, I guess I should probably talk more about this story, because more and more people started to ask me after I actually published a video about this probably about a month ago. And a lot of people started to ask me more questions about it. I should probably do a series, I guess. I don't know, with a couple things that happened throughout those years. But yeah, YouTube is my main thing.
Let us know. Leave a comment below if you want Marian to do this, and then I'll let him know.
Yeah.
Let's see what they say. But I think you should. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably either do another channel maybe just on this topic. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any like specific questions to me, because I know during that time I was going on all kinds of forums and all the things. So I guess sometimes you just need an answer from somebody that has been there. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that if anybody has. On Instagram, I have the same handle, Marian V Esanu is just my name. But again, people will probably be able to find it in the description below.
Absolutely. Awesome, Marian. Thank you so much. This is
Sure.
a pleasure. You are amazing. Keep rocking. Keep living your American dream. I'm sure we're going to hear back from you again at some point. I can check with you later how everything is unfolding for you. And meanwhile, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next videos. And by the way, guys, I'm going to link video, actually playlist somewhere here. You can check it out. This playlist is going to motivate you. It's going to kick your ass, not kiss. And yeah, and if you have any question, comment, leave them below, and I'll see you next time. Everybody have a great day. Bye.
Take care, guys.